All right, here we go. So a little bit of a long description to start out with, but what I'm hoping to cover here is the DragonSDR firmware running on the Pluto SDR with OpenVPN, OpenVPN server running on DragonOS Focal, OpenVPN client running on the Pluto. I've realized I needed to get an ability to update the time, so I've rebuilt the firmware with NTP and NTP date, and then I'm also looking at fixing up some things with GPSD and a script there that could update the time if there's no internet on the Pluto SDR. Because of course we need the time and sync for our OpenVPN server to work. So what I have set up right now is the DragonOS Focal that you're looking at here, R17. It is wirelessly, well, there's an internet connection to it as well so that I can screen record here, but for all intents and purposes, it's wirelessly connected to a GL-iNet 750M router, which had OpenVPN on it, but it's reflashed, and you see the interface of it back here just so we can kind of see the traffic. And it's also serving as the internet connection or the network connection to the Pluto SDR, which has a USB Ethernet adapter because I don't have an OTG cable and the alpha card that I was going to use to just have it wirelessly connecting. That just isn't working out right now. I also have a ham it up kit attached to the Pluto SDR, so once we get wirelessly connected to it, we'll see about just kind of looking at things down in the 20 megahertz or below with a YouLoop antenna I have hanging up here. I think that kind of accurately describes the setup here. There's wires and stuff all over the place, but um, anyways, I've got this page pulled up here. There's many different ways to set up OpenVPN, of course. This is just an option, a script here that I'm going to run. Uh, I'll put the link in the description. Really, I've just copied and pasted this portion of it and downloaded the script. I've made it executable with chmod plus X, and then I've edited the script to remove the check on the public IP. So when you run it, you'll get your public IP and you'll be able to set it up for the what I'm doing here. I don't want that shown, of course, and I don't need it. So all we should have to do is run this script. I'm going to go with the number 2 here, which is the wireless router here network, and the 183 is the IP address of this, which is going to be the OpenVPN server. I'll just go ahead and type it in again as opposed to the public IP address that would normally come up there. UDP is fine, 1194 is fine. I'll just stick with the current system resolvers. We'll call this the DragonSDR. This will pull in and install OpenVPN on DragonOS Focal. It should bring the server up and online automatically. It will also make a key. We can see that key is in the root directory, so if we do, let's see, just to make it easy, let's see if we can copy this. Let's see, sudo su, look in the root directory here. Yep, it's there. Just do a copy of it to our home Dragon folder. We'll go here. The remote will be, most likely be your public IP. I'm going to grab all this, copy this, close this out. All right, now let's come over here and let's get into our let's see, 151 is the Pluto SDR. All right, let's see. So before we kind of get going here, we'll want to use NTP date, which is in the new firmware let's see, yeah, ntp date-u pool.ntp.org. You run that, let it run for a little while, and you'll get the date synced, date and time. So what we want to do is go to the MNT folder. There's a JFSS2 folder there, which is persistent, so that when you put your key in here, you can keep it in here. You'll also notice in the initd there is a script here that you can tailor and configure and point it directly to your certificate, make that executable. But to really do that, I'm going to try towards the end of this video to go over the Pluto firmware modifications script that you can run, and so you can rip apart the firmware that I'm providing, and you can go in and you can tailor things like the profiles for the SigDigger, the headless SigDigger, or if you want to start this automatically. So you can do that on your own without having to have the whole build environment and build the firmware from scratch. So you can just take what I've already got done and you can tweak it a little bit. Alright, anyways, let's see. So what we want to do is go back to that mount JFFS2. I'll just remove my cert. We'll do a nano mycert.ovpn, and I'm going to copy over all the information in regards to my key. Okay, so fingers crossed. Let's see. We'll do OpenVPN --config. We'll do a mycert. And looks like we're getting a successful connection to the OpenVPN server. Let's see. We'll open up another here. $151. And let's see if we can ping the 10.8.0.1. Okay. So now our PlutoSDR is connected over a VPN. It is the top here, the server is the bottom. This is the traffic between the two. Alright, so what do we want to do now? Let's set up our CLI. Let's see, dev serve if, and let's try this here. Let's see, and we must be .2. Alright, so we're announcing over the VPN. Let's come here, we'll go ham radio. We'll go SigDigger. Let's see, let's get set up here. So we know this is running. And we know this is running. Got windows all over the place here. Okay, so if we go to remote, we want to go to the server 10.0.8.1, and so I think it goes 3 meg, 1 meg, let's see, 3.1 and 250. So we'll try 3 meg first. Okay, alright, so a couple things. It would have helped if I had put 10.8.0.2, and I also went in and let's see, I did an edit of the OpenVPN server conf, put in client to client, save that file, restarted the server. I restarted the OpenVPN on the PlutoSDR, and I also fixed this to be 10.8.0.2. So that is announcing. Let's see. Looks like, okay, there we go. So now we got a connection. Let's see if I can refresh this. Interesting. Well, let's see. That's going over. And so it should be going through the VPN. And, well, I know it's going through the VPN. Just trying to think why that traffic speed would be so low there. Let's see. Well, I'll look at that later. But anyways, now we can see we've got our connection over the VPN. Minimize this a little bit here. Let's disconnect for a second, and we'll connect back on 28003. Okay. Let me get some audio here. Oh, well, there's no audio now because we don't have it on. Let's see. So now keep in mind too, when you have the Ham It Up kit, you're starting out at 125, and so I think here, so say we want to go to 20 megahertz, should be add 20 there. Now we should be sitting at 20 megahertz. What I do, let's see, let's try our upper sideband here. I may have to come down on the processing rate. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that. So let's come over here, and so this will be a benefit of being able to build your own firmware, because right now this won't last past a reboot. We'll edit this, come down to the bottom here. Let's take this average up to this average value. Let's go up to 8. Well, Control O, save that. Control X, we'll start back up our server. Come over here. Yep, 28003. Alright, so now we're down 125. Alright, well, you get the idea. I've been messing around with it for a little while here. I can tune around over the OpenVPN and receive with the Ham It Up kit, the YouLoop antenna. Obviously, if I spend a little more time here, messed around with the demodulators, I think I'm down in about the 7 megahertz by the time I subtract 125 here with the Ham It Up kit. And so that's how you can use this whole setup with a VPN and access your PlutoSDR with the DragonSDR firmware. And alright, so let me think. One other thing here, while we've got this connection here that I didn't show before. So this is the PlutoSDR. Let's shut off the headless SigDigger server here. The other thing I didn't really show is RTL433 is built in. You just have to do a -D and Pluto, and so that'll load up all the RTL433 information here, maybe. There we go. And so I have nothing around here, so it'll pretty much just sit on this last line here, but it does work. I have checked it out in areas where there is some devices, and that works. And then of course in the root folder you've got the Retrogram there, so that's also over the VPN. Alright, so let's see, we can exit out of here. We'll exit out of the VPN, and what we'll do here is we'll take a look at let's see, we'll go grab the Pluto firmware. This isn't the latest. I need to get it uploaded with the NTP server. Save this file, and then what we'll do is come over here to the Pluto firmware modifications. Do a get clone, and we'll do this manually. I got somebody helping with scripting this out, but we'll do it manually right now. So let's copy from our downloads folder the Pluto firmware. We'll copy it into the Pluto firmware modifications folder, and then we'll change into the Pluto firmware modifications folder. We'll make a build directory just like it's saying on the directions there. We can run this command here, but before we do that, we need the device tree compiler. So sudo apt. The other thing too is because DragonOS is, let's see, Python 3, okay, so we need to well, it specifies Python 3, so we'll just copy this as is. And so now we end up with all these files here. Just copy the whole thing. Yep. Okay, so now we followed along here, and we've got that root fs file there. So let's go to our Pluto firmware modifications build. If we right strict, let's see. Okay, let's see. Alright, so we have our root file system here. So we should be able to, let's see, should be able to come in here and root. Look for hidden folders, Suscli config. Let's see, featherpan. So now you can edit the profiles. So edit what you need to edit. Once you edit what you need to edit, you'd have to zip back everything back up. Now I should say I haven't fully tested this out yet, so proceed with caution. I mean, you can always recover your Pluto with the directions that they provide, but you zip it back up into the CPIO and then zip it back up into the .gz just like you started with. And once you've made the changes you need to change, we come up a directory, we'd make a new FRM, change into there, grab the tools that we need, and then use that tool. Let's pull this down. Okay. And finally, we end up back with a 17 meg firmware there. Let's see. And we started with the 17 meg. So that should be how you can edit the firmware, the DragonSDR firmware, with whatever changes you need to make. So when I get more time, I'll actually run through, and I don't have it really set up right now where I could flash that, but that should be, as long as you've zipped the folder back up the correct way, then you should be fine. So all right, I think that's all I was going to cover. Thanks for hanging in there. I know that's a lot, but there you go. That's how you get that all set up.